Here on The Colour of Country Life, great to be catching up with the National Party leader in Victoria, Peter Walsh. How are you, Peter?
Very well, thank you, Ricky.
And you're driving at the moment through the countryside. Just how is the season going throughout regional Victoria?
In general, the season is very good, Ricky. I think people are very pleased that it looks very, very promising at the moment. It's obviously you can never count it till the wool's in the bale, the grain's in the silo, or the hay's on the truck, but it is looking very, very good at the moment.
And as Agriculture Minister, Shadow, you want to be the Agriculture Minister at the November election. Do you feel the government's doing a good job in terms of supporting the farming sector at the moment?
There has been some real challenges. I don't think the government has been doing enough, Ricky. I think there was not enough work done on preparedness and biosecurity for the potential threat of a foot and mouth outbreak, and we saw the challenges with varroa mite and in the bee industry and what that did to particularly the almond industry at the moment, but to all those crops in the future that need bees for pollination. And then the eternal one around the issues of transport. The road system is just crumbling before our eyes, and the Murray Basin Rail project that was supposed to get a lot of freight off-road onto rail has just failed dismally.
So that the government made some commitment on that front, but really just hasn't delivered in moving that project forward. And we haven't heard anything conclusive from the government about Murray Basin Rail that it intends to keep that moving along.
Well, we have actually. The Minister, Jacinta Allen, last year said, basically threw her hands up in the air and said, this is a project for future government. We will not be doing any more of this project. And I think that is just a travesty of justice, that the money was there. Somehow it's been totally mismanaged and the money's all been spent and the project's less than half done, and what's been done actually leaves trains going slower than they were before.
Now, when you use that term travesty of justice, just to focus on another topic, the protesters regarding logging, I think there's a bit of that goes on more so in your electorate, but the government's decided, even though the courts have determined that they need to pay a substantial fine, the government's not going to chase them for it.
A long history here, Ricky. So VicForests won a court case, had costs awarded to them. My Environment has refused to pay those costs. Mary Ann Thomas was the Minister for Agriculture through some of that. She actually made comments to a parliamentary committee that she hadn't actually given any instructions to VicForests and hadn't written to VicForests telling them effectively not to pursue that money. We sought freedom of information for that letter. I had to actually lodge a case with VCAT to try and get that letter, and eventually the government has handed over. And it's clearly there in black and white that the Minister effectively gave instructions to VicForests not to pursue that. She has used false information in that letter around the statute of limitations on pursuing that money to discourage VicForests from pursuing it. And then all of a sudden the VicForests chair disappeared and they put a very strong Labor supporter, Labor operative in as chair of VicForests. I just think Victorian taxpayers have been served very, very poorly by the fact the government doesn't want to get $2 million of their money back.
Now, the fines that were imposed, they were against people who protested against logging, is that right?
It was a court case that My Environment brought against VicForests over logging. VicForests won the case, and VicForests actually had court costs awarded to them. It's the issue of the court costs.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So the activism, in a sense, was about the environmental lobby mounting a court case about the logging.
It was that, and then because that debt is since 2014, that means that interest has accrued on that to take what was a debt now up to almost $2 million.
All right, and so is there a concern from the opposition that this is being dropped, in the eve of an election, more so to avoid, I guess, offending city voters, that the government is strong on its environmental record?
Well, this has been going on for a number of years now, Ricky, and our view from our side of politics is that the government is going soft on a group that lost a court case, had costs awarded against it because they don't want to offend the Greens in the inner city for their preferences.
What sort of message does it send, I guess, to anyone who breaks the law if they hold out long enough and if you're on the right side of the government's political viewpoint that you don't need to end up paying your debt to society?
Well, that is totally, you're right, it sends the wrong message, but it is totally wrong thing to do. The government has a responsibility to manage the state in the best interests of all Victorians, and we have a justice system here that should be fair and above politics. In this case, the government is playing politics and selling a government instrumentality don't pursue a debt that's owed to Victorian taxpayers because it's not politically satisfactory for us.
All right, well, we'll follow that with interest as well, Peter Walsh. We're getting closer to this election in November and look forward to hearing more from the opposition as well as we head towards that election date.
Thank you very much, Ricky.